What's going on, YouTube? How you doing, logicians? Please make sure you guys pop that like button, hit the subscribe button, and please smack the notification bell so do not miss any more posts from me. Let's get straight into this video and talk about the things that we're here to talk about. And what we're here to talk about is Donald J. Trump. Now, it says here, now this is brought to you guys by the Neighborhood Talk. It says here, oh wow, Donald Trump found guilty on all 34 charges in hush money trial. First U.S. president to be convicted of a felony. Donald J. Trump has been convicted of falsifying records to cover up an SEX scandal that threatened his ascent to the White House in 2016. Part of a scheme that prosecutors describe as a fraud on the American people, he is the first American president to be declared a felon, a stain he will carry as he seeks to regain the presidency. Now, let me continue because I also have a different article over here, but I really want to know what you guys think in terms of Donald Trump now being found guilty on all 34 charges. But the question that I have, I wonder what the actual penalties that he will face, because let's be very clear, he does have a lot of this. He does have a lot of money, so that will be a barrier that can probably protect him in terms of the judge. But also, in addition to that, he does, if you want to be honest, has to complexion for the protection. Let me continue. So this article right here is brought to you guys by Penn Live. Now it says here, former President Trump is now a convicted felon, a sad time in American history. Girl. The jury has spoken. 12 men and women made history in a New York courtroom on Thursday in convicting a former president of the United States on 34 felony counts. President Donald Trump is the first American president to be convicted of a crime, let alone 34 of them, girl. And more trials are on the horizon. No matter what side of the political fence you sit on, it's a sad day in American history. American children will read in their textbooks how a president slept with a peace star and tried to hide it from voters by paying her off. Then he lied about it. Let's stop right there. I will say this. Yes, in terms of being the president, being someone in a leadership position, it's horrible. It's sad that the president has been convicted of 34 counts of fraud, whatever you want to call it. But however, let's just keep it a bean. Let's just keep it a buck. If we actually get into the history of the United States of America, when you're growing up, the history that you're taught, I would say in high school, you're kind of pampered in a sense of what actually goes on in history. Now, that history that you're actually taught, I'm gonna say your senior year and also college, that's when you start to really get into the evil, sinister things that America has done. So the children will be fine. They'll be fine. But let me continue. It's the truth, it's our history, and the kids are going to be tested on the details for decades to come. Like it or not, Stormy Daniels and her night with former President Trump are now part of the annuals of presidential history. How sad. The Republican Party is poised to offer the American people a convicted felon as its candidate for president. His sentencing is set for July 11th, only a few days before the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. With the verdict in New York, there is a chance the Republican presidential nominee will have a campaign from a jail cell. So far, former President Trump has shown no sign of remorse. He said he's an innocent man and a victim of a corrupt system. Come on, corrupt system. The whole trial, he said, was rigged. Instead of apologizing to the American people, he lashed out at the judge, jury, witnesses, and a whole judicial system. That also is sad. There's just no reason whatsoever to doubt that the former president received a fair trial with a competent judge and jury. It's the same system countless accused persons have faced. My point exactly. And most Americans believe not one, not even an American president, is above the law. Come on. Pennsylvanians have even more reason to be sad, if not outraged. U.S. Rep. Scott Perry quickly issued a statement echoing the former president's unfounded attacks on New York's criminal justice system. And what is worse, Rep. Perry focused his attacks on President Joe Biden. Come on, distractions. Who has no control over the New York judicial system. He certainly has no control over members of the jury who determine Trump's fate, and Joe Biden will have no control over whether Judge Juan, girl, I'll be butchering these people's name, Juan Merchan sends former President Trump to jail. This is where the people who are receiving the message from said person have to start thinking. And I do mean as Trump supporters. Like it said here in the article, you're blaming Joe Biden for the judicial system. If you go back to basic history, government, there are three branches. You have the executive branch, which consists of the president and all those who fall under him. Their job is to reinforce laws. You have the legislative branch, which would be Congress, the Senate and representatives, and all those that fall under that. Their job is to create laws, refine laws. Then you have the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court, and everybody else that falls under that. And their job is to interpret and elaborate on those laws. I said that to say this. Joe Biden is way over here in the executive branch. If anything, you might want to have to talk to the judicial system, aka the judges, aka the Supreme Court. They will have more of a say-so in terms of what's going on. I'm just saying. But I'm going to continue. It says, Rep. Perry also stood with the former president in trying to overturn the results in the 2020 presidential election that Trump lost. Rep. Perry has tied his fate to that of the former president, but it won't help Pennsylvania, girl, can I get that out, or the nation. Such baseless attacks undermine the very foundation of the American democracy. They increase political divisions and social discord at a time when we need to be united to face series of threats from foreign foes like Russia, Iran, and China. Our nation and our Commonwealth deserve better. We urge Pennsylvanians to demand more of their elected officials. Elections are only 6 months away. The voters may not only have to decide whether to send a convicted felon to the White House, but they'll have to consider whether to vote for the people who continue to support him. So here's my thing. It had to be a big check that had to be cut to sleep with Donald J. Trump. And also, too, like I said earlier, my thing is this, is that it's very interesting to me that people love to bring things up and say things like, oh, the children will be fine, because especially when they start to get into the sinister history of America and also the American government, the American people, and the things that we all have been a part of. And I'm just saying, as a culture, as in America, the children, it's just another thing to add to the list. They'll be fine. I could be talking out the side of my neck because I may not know the specifics in terms of the court system, and he may have some doing it behind the scenes or whatever. But from what I know, Joe Biden, who's part of the executive branch, has nothing to do with what the judicial branch has going on. They check and balance each other. But however, in terms of, as long as there's no wrongdoing going on, you'll be fine. It has nothing to do with Joe Biden. Anyway, let me continue. Donald Trump's campaign reveals they have collected close to $53 million in online donations following his guilty verdict. Girl. So this is a perfect example of cream supremacy and cream privilege. What I mean by that is this. If the shoe was on the other foot and there was somebody who was more melanated in these exact same situations, they would not have the ability to still vote, have the same backing, the same support, still have the ability to still run for to be elected. Let's not forget, and I'm about to say Andrew Caldwell, but what is that black I forgot his name, the black governor that was in that scandal surrounding his sexual orientation, Let me see. Let me see. Can I look his name up? Hold up, y'all. Let me see. Can I look his name up? Andrew Gillum. I was looking for his name, y'all. So yes. So when he had all of that going on, as you guys can see and tell, that he wasn't going to be able to win that. So we're going to see how these things play out. And so Donald Trump is about to go to jail. Some can probably say he's probably about to go to jail, but let's get off of Donald Trump. Let's actually talk about his possible cellmate. Let's get into the Diddy. So this is brought to you guys by The Neighborhood Talk. It says, oops, Kaleena Harper from Diddy Dirty Money still supports Diddy, says his former artists have disgruntled employee syndrome. And it says here, and I quote, he was effing cool as ish. Now it says, neighbors, get into this. Y'all remember Kaleena Harper from Diddy's former group, Diddy Dirty Money? Well, she's speaking out in support of Diddy in Rolling Stone's expose about the mogul. She believes Diddy was a cool person and she never had an issue with him during her time of employment. In the article, Kaleena is quoted saying that her time in the group was, and I quote, one of the highs of her life, and she had some amazing experiences working with Diddy, though most of her bad boy artists would say the exact opposite. Kaleena believes they are suffering from disgruntled employee syndrome and placing the blame for their failed careers on everyone but themselves. Okay, so before I even give my thoughts, let me continue to see what the people got to say. One person says he was cool because he didn't want you, ma'am. Another person says, because you wasn't his type, baby. Another person says, sometimes a nagger not being attracted to you can save and spare you. Know that. Another person says, who else ran to the comments laughing my off? Another person says, girl, he left you broke. Made millions off. Hello, good morning. Ooh. Another person says, girl, go put out some Carmex and leave us alone. For real, the first tomorrow, everything due. Now it says, I'm happy that was your experiences, but did you see the video? And that's what I really want to get into, is that here's the thing. You can have a wonderful experience with someone, but that does not mean that they are not a villain in someone else's story. Kaleena, you had an awesome relationship with Diddy. Yes, you had an awesome experience with Diddy, but that does not mean everybody else had that exact same experience. And let's also call a spade as well too. Let's also pop this question. You said most, and it says here, I want to quote it, make sure I'm not getting this wrong. So let me go back to it. It says here, down the bottom, it says, though most of his bad boy artists would say the exact opposite. So most meaning what? Most as in meaning most of, like as in the majority. That's what most is. So with that being said, with most, that means most of the artists are having a very similar experience. We can also go back to popping the question. The popping the question is, why is not everyone, but most of his artists having a very similar experience? Now, I'm pretty sure, I could be right, I could be wrong. There probably are some people within that camp that are just making up experiences because it may be a money grab. It may be a money grab. But however, that does not mean that there are not artists that have dealt with Diddy. And as we can see from his pattern of behavior, let's consider the source, Danity Kane, where if you allegedly from his own former bodyguard, and saying that Diddy allegedly, let me put the allegedly sign up, because girl, I don't need nobody trying to sue me. I am not TK. You will not be Cardi B and me. So allegedly, girl, Diddy said that he wanted to essentially put Danity Kane, the group, all of the members, get them into substance abuse, the A word, because girl, YouTube, and essentially pimp them out. You're also talking about the same man that had a lawsuit or a situation going on with a choreographer, where she let it be known that she was physically attacked, allegedly, by Diddy and somebody in his camp. There was a big blow up when he had the show Making the Band. Now, since it wasn't shown on TV, it's all alleged. You're also talking about the same man where we literally see on video of him attacking Cassie and dragging her up and down the hallway in his towel. So these are the things that you have to consider. The thing is this. I do understand when people say where there's smoke, there's fire. And I also understand the flip side where a lot of people can believe a lot of things, but that does not mean these things are true. But I will say this. In terms of Diddy, there seems to be a consistent pattern in terms of the way that he operates, the way that he moves, the way that he kind of moves like Donald Trump, but people will have the cha-ching. They use their money to keep people quiet. They use their money as a way of power. They use their resource to get things done, whether in a good way or a bad way. When you actually started getting deep into Diddy and his politics and his philosophy and the way that he thinks, the way that he moves and his patterns and stuff, you really start to see a consistent pattern of there is something insidious and something wrong going on there. But hey, that's just my personal opinion. I'm just saying. And to be completely honest, another reason why Diddy has been able to get away with the stuff that he has been doing, like R. Kelly, like some may argue Bill Cosby, and all the other people that the big giant scandals and stuff, and they finally got their takedown, is that because you have there is a spider web of people also participating. Allegedly, Tyler Perry as well. I'm gonna put Miss Perry up in that group too. But there's a spider web of people who also participate in the BS in terms of covering things up, in terms of recruitment, in terms of intimidation factors, in terms of being hitmen. So there seems to be a consistent pattern, and you, Kaleena, are basically doing a disservice by trying to speak up and saying and trying to put the blame solely on the disgruntled employees, when in all actuality, what you need to be doing is paying attention and asking the main question: why are all these people having a very similar experience with you? And like I said, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna move on. In terms of Diddy, there seems to be a consistent pattern, and we're going to consider the source. And the source of that, if we analyze the behavior and we consider the source, he has something going on, and from what it looks like his behavior is catching up to him. But I digress. I'm going to continue. Now, let's get into the last thing we got to talk about. We're going to talk about another ain't-ish ass nagger. Well, we're going to talk about two of them, but we're going to focus really on one. So let's get into Dr. Umar. So it says here, brought to you guys by The Neighborhood Talk. Dr. Umar tells Nick Cannon that polygyny was actually started by Black women. But let's get into it, girl. Let me see. Actually, let me see. Can I connect this bad boy to my speaker over here? Let me see. There we go. Come on, connect. There we go. There we go.
Culture, Brother Nick. It was the women who created polygyny. It was the women who said that men are going to have more than one wife. And do you know why they did that? Because they came from a principle of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Yeah. I'm not winning unless my sister winning. Yeah. And since men die sooner than women on average, and of course they die because of war and other unnatural factors, we normally outlive by women. Right. We got to make sure the community is stable. And if we ain't got enough men to go around, the community won't be stable. And it's also that idea of tribalism, right? To where the man, if there's a successful man in the tribe, he wants to be able to take care of as many of the people as possible. But from the matriarchal, it was the women who came to the men and said, you're going to take on more. Be your life. Right, but you're going to take on more than me. Yeah. You're going to, not because I want to share my man. She needs you, and she needs you because the community needs it. Polygyny is not about personal preference. Right. It's about making sure all the children got a dad and all the women got a husband, because you know, like I know, because Black America suffers from a shortage of Black males. Cemetery, penitentiary, right? Yeah. So what do women do when they can't find a man of their own? I don't care how Christian they are, how Muslim they are, how Hebrew they are. they will share a married man.
Yeah.
And one of the contradictions that black women have to deal with, who claim that they are not for polygyny, if you are not for polygyny, why is it we can often find single black women being the mistress to a married black man? If you are against plural marriage, how did you manage to end up as his mistress and he's married? So do you know what you're telling me? You're not against polygyny. You're against being accountable for it. You don't want nobody to know you are a co-wife. You see that?
Come on, co-wife.
Going too deep, Dr. Umar.
But we got to deal with these issues. And as far as monogamy goes, and I'm going to do more research on this, Brother Nick, but my research has shown me there has never been a monogamous society on the face of this earth, only on paper. Don't get me wrong. You've always had men with one wife, but you have always had men with more than one wife. Because from a matrix...
Okay, let me say that. I'm laughing because I was over here reading the comments. Now, let me say this. I have no issue with... I understand and I know that there are different types of relationships. You have poly, you have monogamous, and all the other types of relationships, different shades, tones, etc. But I'm gonna tell you what the issue in terms of Dr. Umar and Nick Cannon is that when they begin to talk about poly relationships, they always want to talk about the poly in terms of the men having multiple wives. And that conversation is always pushed and always talked about. Polyandry is a rare form of polygamy where a woman has more than one husband at the same time. The word comes from the Greek words polys, meaning many, and andros, meaning man. When the husbands in a polyandrous marriage are brothers and are said to be brothers, it's called adelphic or fraternal polyandry So here's my thing. And so he did bring up polygamy in Africa, which is true. So I wanted to know, was polyandry practiced in Africa? And it says here, it is found in some tribes of Africa, such as villages in northern Nigeria and northern Cameroon. Usually one of the woman's husbands will be chosen to be the husband of a woman from another tribe who would also have many husbands. This double polyandrous union serves to form a marital alliance between tribes. So here's the thing. I said all that to say this, is that in terms of the conversation, one can argue is that the reason why the conversation of polygamy being talked about in terms of men sharing women or the women sharing the man is because, like Dr. Umar stated in the video. In the video, he said that there is a lack of black men that will be able to be husbands and be ready and available to black women because of statistics. But all the reason why I do question their stance on the quote unquote state of the community and the polygamy and all these things and that whole conversation is because the conversation surrounding polyandry, if a woman were to have multiple husbands, it would be something that would be completely frowned upon. So my thing is this, because also, like it said here, if being in a poly relationship is African as well. So a man having multiple wives is African, but also a wife having multiple husbands is also a thing as well. And I think the issue that triggers up a lot of black women as well, and also a lot of people, is that we also know that the reason why a lot of men want multiple wives, it has nothing to do with community. It has nothing to do with family. It has nothing to do with any of that. A lot of men lead from their loins. A lot of men lead from their genitalia. So a lot of times they want to get into poly relationships only to fulfill their sexual fantasies. That's it. It has nothing to do with building a family. And then on top of that, people talk about legacies, but the gag is that legacy has nothing to do with actually your bloodline. Legacy has something more to do with your impact, your influence. Because that's the reason why we talk about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King's legacy. We don't talk about their children. We talk about the impact that they had on the culture of Black people from polarizing views and stances. When we talk about Rosa Parks' legacy, we don't talk about her children. Yes, that may come up, but we talk about the impact. And like I said, the issue is that a lot of people talk about being in poly relationships, and they try to dress it up. This is African, this is for the community, this is for the culture, for the children. They love to use the children and try to weaponize the children. But however, we also know, and we know for a fact that you guys only want to do this only because you want to fulfill your fantasies. That's it. And I'm gonna be honest, I believe, and I could be right, I could be wrong, I believe that if men haven't been socialized to think of women a certain way, I believe a lot of women would be more open to being in poly relationships. But a lot of women also know what I just said, that a lot of times a lot of the men want to be in poly relationships just to fulfill the fantasies. And the reason why I said think of women a certain way is because if you, let's just call a spade, if you actually listen to the conversations within barbershops when women are not present, it's very disgusting. So it's very dehumanizing. So I do believe that if men did not have a very distorted view of objecting women, of dehumanizing women, then I do believe women would be more open to that idea. Would be. Now, another thing too, because I was looking for this clip, it took me a little minute just to find it. When I was searching for this clip, a lot of men was like, yes, I agree, yes, I agree. But here's the thing when it comes down to that. The thing is this. The thing is that poly relationships really only works and benefit successful men. So if you're not a man that don't have any resources, then you're not going to benefit from poly relationships. You're not going to benefit from having a relationship with women because you don't have the financial resources to provide for your group. So a lot of men are sitting up here saying this is the truth, but you would not be able to benefit from that. Now, also, I do want to add this as well, because also in the conversation, Dr. Umar and Nick Cannon both said making sure that the children both had a mother and a father. But here's the thing. Let's take Nick Cannon, for example. Yes, all of your children, yes, have a mother and a father. But however, with you having all these different types of children, it is impossible. And also on top of it, these children live in different households. It's impossible for you to be active in their lives. And I do believe that this is where a lot of men get it mixed up in their head. They have this idea that as long as I provide financially, I am a good parent. But I'm going to have to disagree with that because, yes, providing for your children is, yes, one part of parenting. But however, the other part is also providing the non-physical needs as well, which would be emotional needs, advice, support. Those things also have to be there as well in terms of your children. Because we also hear the stories where there are children that live in the household with their parents, and their parents are there financially, but they are not there with them spiritually, sometimes physically, because you have so many responsibilities and duties, and also emotionally. So you missed the mark on that. And also another reason why I call cap is because of this. And this is what I mean when I say that a lot of time, if you let people talk long enough, they always tell on themselves. This is what Dr. Umar had to say. He was on a podcast, and I'm just going to read it now. It says, Dr. Umar got the streets talking after he suggested that if his son-in-law is providing and protecting his daughter, then she shouldn't necessarily divorce a cheating husband. I'm going to let y'all listen.
My husband cheated on me. I'm going to say, Princess, is he a good provider? Yes. Does he take good care of you? Yes. Do you ever disrespect you, raise his hand to you? No. Outside of this cheating, is he what you need in a man? Yes, he is. Was this thing purely sexual? Was it a hit and miss? Or is he really feeling this woman? If she tells me this was a hit and miss, go have a conversation with him about his infidelity. Let him know you do not like it. I will never tell you not to leave a man because he cheated. You want to leave him because he cheated? Go ahead and do it. But I want to ask you a question.
That's what Dr. Umar had to say. Now I'm going to tie this all in. This also goes into my point of what I said earlier, when these naggers be on code. Because the thing is this. There is this thing to where, to the naked eye, they dress things up as in family values, dress things up as in I'm here for the community, dress things up to distract people from the real insidious behavior and message. The thing is this. From the naked eye, one can probably argue and say things like, he's just saying that if you want, he's not going to tell his daughter to leave her husband. He's just going to tell her to make the best decision that she feels is necessary. If it's just a one and done, you probably should work on your marriage. But the reason why I struggle with that at times is because we also know that a lot of men do not tolerate cheating. Most men do not tolerate cheating. If you cheat on men, they're going to leave. This is what I mean when I said earlier is that, yes, we talk about poly relationships and how men having multiple wives, but yet the conversation surrounding women having multiple husbands, it doesn't get the same reaction or the same traction. That right there lets me know that there's something else at work. I believe that Dr. Umar needs to stop talking about other things. What he needs to talk about is building the school. Don't worry about poly relationships. And so that's my ending thoughts. That is it for my video for today, guys. Please make sure you guys pop that like button.